Welcome to the Agoracom CEO interview program, where our primary goal is to expose great undiscovered small cap companies to vast retail audiences. I'm Al O'Grady. And on today's program, we have with us the president and CEO of Shoreham Resources, Mr. David Bending. Shoreham Resources is a Canadian-based mineral exploration and development company with significant land holdings in the Red Lake mining district of Northern Ontario and in Guyana, South America. In Ontario, the company has collected over 1,500 claim units covering over 24,000 hectares with impressive values of gold, silver, moly, and uranium. Shoreham Resources trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol SMH. Mr. Bending, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Okay. David, the date of today's recording is Wednesday, November 4th. Yesterday on the 3rd, you had a press release that crossed the wires. Let's talk about that bit of news for a second. What's going on, and what sort of impact will that be having on the company and its shareholders?
Well, the two recent press releases that you might have noticed involve the sale of a property in Ontario, which is a matter of helping Escape Gold clean up its listing property and hopefully to move forward with their exploration programs in consideration for some cash, which we can use now as part of our reorganization plan, and some shares in Escape, which I think will be a good company, they're good people, and some warrants. It allowed us to place what was essentially a non-performing asset into capable hands so we could focus on our main projects. Now, the other news that's come out, which is perhaps more interesting in the long run, is that after several months of people waiting, we've actually announced the transaction on the five-star property involving Mulgravian Ventures, which will become a public company, taking an interest in the property in consideration for 3 placements at above market, initially $210,000 at 30 cents, which was at a nice premium to our market as of yesterday, and 2 additional placements based on warrants. Those warrants will be effectively the same size of investment, but they'll be at prices of $60 and $1.20. And those are conditions precedent to their participation in this project. And they also need to spend over 4 years $2 million. We'll be the operators. We'll make 10% as the operator. And that adds another funded joint venture to our growing portfolio and our alliance with Mulgravian, soon to be a public company in another name.
Obviously, you've had a recent private placement. That's an important influx of capital for Shoreham and for the Guyana property, isn't it?
Well, the placement itself is important to us, and that's been part of our business model. We were facing, not long ago, the need for financing when our market was weak, and we had to find better ways of growing the company. So we've adopted a generative model, which is fairly well known in the industry, and we're trying to grow the company through these projects and through these joint ventures. But ultimately, our goal is to build the company so we can go back to Maruti Mountain with a strong budget. Now, these investments help us a lot. They help us to maintain our staff, meet our obligations, and grow the company. And it's also the money that we need to help get organized for the plan of arrangement, which we've previously announced. The other part of this that's important is that the five-star property is an outstanding prospect. We've learned more about it. It has an exceptionally interesting history of alluvial gold production. We have good geochemistry there from several operators, including the Guyanese government and 2 other companies. And we see some really attractive targets there that will become priorities for us as we commence our field work with Mulgravian.
Okay, now speaking of the Mulgravian Venture Corp, and this, of course, is in Guyana, you had just signed a letter of intent with Mulgravian Ventures where they could actually acquire a 51% working interest in the five-star property. Walk us through this agreement and really tell us why it's so important.
Well, part of the reason it's important is that it's in addition to other agreements that we've announced that have similar formats. The Black Banana Agreement, which we prepared at the end of last year in January, allowed them to pick up 60% of a license that we'd identified and acquired by spending $2 million and putting $600,000 in our till at a premium to market. The Guyana Shield transaction, which we sorted out in March and closed in April, involved $5 million in the ground and about $1.7 million in above-market placements. These transactions provide us with a model for sustained growth, funding for substantial exploration projects that we're exposed to. With the exception of Black Banana, they're all 51-49 arrangements and they allow us to grow our presence, build our team, and bring discoveries to the table without spending any of our money or diluting our shareholders.
Okay. David, do some crystal ball gazing for us, if you could. Where do you see the company in the short run, say the next 3 to 6 months, and also in the longer term, say the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, you're probably aware now that we're always looking for important new opportunities that we can use to feed our generative model. You're also aware that our core business plan is to grow the company and ultimately, through perhaps some restructuring, which we've discussed in our announcements about the plan of arrangement, raise enough money so that we can go back to Maruti Mountain and spend the money there that's required to turn into something as important as we think it is. That's our focus. It's a fairly clear message. We are looking carefully at options for separating the Guyanese portfolio from the Canadian portfolio into two separate listed companies, which will be 100% held by the shareholders. There will be no change of ownership in this case, just a streamlining of the message to help us brand what we're doing. We think that both portfolios are important. We're actually quite excited about the Canadian projects, and we're looking forward to some successful work there in the winter. We've done some programs over the summer that have helped us to organize ourselves for that. I think Guyana will be a great engine for growth for the new company, Maruti Gold. The timing for this and the details of this remain to be sorted out. We've announced that we're considering it, and we're getting more and more convinced that as the gold markets strengthen and as the message from Guyana becomes more understandable, that this will be a recipe for success.
Okay. David, that's it as far as the formal questions are concerned, but as always, my guest gets the last word. Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to add right now?
Oh, that's about all I have to say today. Watch for some more news. We're always looking for new opportunities, and we're always looking for another deal that'll add to our strengths as we grow.
Okay, and we'll certainly keep an eye out for that. On that note, David, I want to thank you very much for your time and telling us more about Shoreham Resources.
Thank you.
Okay, and Shoreham Resources trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol SMH. And you've been listening to David Bending, President and CEO of Shoreham Resources, on Agoracom's CEO interview program. I'm Al O'Grady. Thanks for joining us.